Stress is an inevitable part of life, but it doesn't have to control you. And although the silent killer is seen as the #1 cause of death worldwide, what if stress is not the problem? In this video, we will walk you through the practical steps to change your relationship with this physiological response. From stress reduction techniques to stress management strategies, we'll give you the tools you need to avoid burnout and improve your overall well-being. So, to make sure we're on the same page, let's start by clarifying what stress actually is. Stress is the body's response to any demand or danger. When you perceive a situation as a threat, your body's natural defense system is activated, releasing hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones are designed to help you stay alert and focused, increase your energy levels, and prepare your body for physical action. That stress response is known as the fight or flight response, and it's a fast and efficient reaction to immediate stressors such as dangerous or threatening situations. However, this physiological feature is meant to be activated seldomly, because when we're constantly flooding our bodies with chemicals and neurotransmitters, our stress levels can become chronic and prolonged, and this can lead to burnout. Why do we experience burnout? First, let's clarify one thing. Our biological clocks are designed to remain in sync unless interfered with. Our bodies have their own self-regulating process, and part of that mode of operation requires a balance between short periods of heightened activation, aka the fight or flight response we just mentioned, with prolonged periods of relaxation, also known as the rest and digest or relaxation mode, that replenish the energy the body spends on the previous cycle. When we get stuck in the fight or flight response, meaning when we experience chronic stress, we're depleting our body's ability to regenerate, and that is what causes burnout. Burnout is a state of persistent exhaustion that results from excessive and prolonged stress. If stress is marked by over-engagement, loss of energy, and physical exhaustion, burnout, on the other hand, can be experienced as disengagement, lack of motivation, and emotional exhaustion. You're basically running on empty. Do you wonder if you're experiencing burnout? You can find a list of burnout symptoms all over the internet, but be mindful that some people are more prone to experience disconnection from their work and relationships, while others find it easier to identify their emotional exhaustion. Since stress can be experienced in very distinct and unique ways, know that lacking focus or feeling unmotivated are not necessarily signs of burnout. So when you check any burnout list, look for a persistent cluster of symptoms. You may experience burnout if you're always tired, get easily frustrated, and have difficulty concentrating. You can become very reactive in your interactions. You may feel unmotivated, get overwhelmed easily, or be quick to anger when things don't go your way. These are the telltale signs of emotional deregulation. To cope with this discomfort, you may begin worrying excessively, isolating yourself from others, or wasting a lot of time online, drinking, gambling, doom scrolling, gaming, or randomly scrolling through social media. This, in turn, may affect the quality of your sleep. Slowly, this emotional vulnerability and volatility will begin affecting your perception of the world. As you dial up your negativity bias, you may find yourself detaching from your work or disinvesting your time and attention in things that are meaningful to you, such as your relationships and personal interests. You may even begin questioning what's wrong with you. And that sense of inadequacy, that feeling that you're not enough or that you're not doing enough, is what tricks you into remaining in that loop of running on fumes. To add to injury, burnout weakens the immune system and increases your chance of experiencing sadness and depression. So how can you stop this downward spiral and regain your zest for life? Even though stress is part of your physiology and therefore it's not possible to completely eliminate it from your life, there are a myriad of things that you can do to not only reduce the risk of being overwhelmed by stress, but also learn to manage it in healthy ways. Most of the work in dealing with stress is about identifying your stressors and how to reduce them, and then identifying and managing your response to the ones that are chronic. So if you're struggling with stress or are quickly approaching burnout, you need to act now. And here's what you need to do. Step 1. Do nothing. Yes, you heard that right. Slow down your rules and take a deep breath. Many of us live in our heads, and our culture and society really thrives on reinforcing that. So when I say take a deep breath, I'm not asking you to think about your breath, but to actually feel the sensations of the air entering and leaving your body. Give yourself permission to step away from to-do lists and struggles that feel out of your control, because stress isn't something that happens to us. In fact, our experience of stress only lasts a few seconds in our bodies. Stress is the result of the thoughts and feelings about what happened to us and how we respond to them. So when you connect with your body, when you anchor yourself in your breathing patterns, you will feel more present to your visceral experience and give your brain a break. This is mindfulness, and we have a whole playlist dedicated to this life-changing practice that you can find in the description box below. Once your mind has settled and you're more connected to your body in the present moment, then you can move on to step 2. In this step, you're going to take stock of your stressors. Stressors are outside conditions or the external environment, and depending on the relation you have with it, may influence your stress levels or how your body responds to these triggers in the first place. These triggers can range from parenting, unmet needs, intangible expectations, work, overwork, the news cycle, lousy sleep, relationship conflict, academic pressures, increasing demands, social media, health problems, money, loss of a loved one, moving to a new location, trauma, unrealistic goals, commute, to-do lists, you name it, life as you know it. Most of these stressors are chronic, but stress doesn't have to be. So once you identify what activates your stress response, it's time to identify what that stress response actually is. Stress results from overstimulation of the nervous central system caused by constant noise, distraction, and the everyday challenges of being alive. So if you want to learn what your stress response is, you need to contemplate how you behave when you feel stressed. Do you feel agitated, heated, frustrated, or unable to sit still? Or do you withdraw, shut down, and pull away from the person or situation stressing you out? Perhaps you feel both, and that would feel tense, like you would appear calm or sort of immobilized on the surface, but would feel extremely confused or agitated on the inside. Your stress response is not a one-size-fits-all for all situations. Most of us will react differently based on our circumstances and what type of stressors triggers us. But knowing how you react to things that cause you stress is essential, because knowing how you react to each of your stressors will give you clues into the most effective tools you can use to manage your mental, physical, and emotional distress. This is what we'll focus on in the last steps. In the next step, we'll introduce stress reduction techniques. The most direct way to reduce stress is to avoid stressors where possible. With that in mind, go back to that list of stressors you identify in step 2 and reflect on whether they're avoidable or unavoidable. For avoidable stressors, consider eliminating or severely limiting the amount of effort or attention you give them. This might mean limiting your consumption of news or social media, eliminating clutter from your home or office, or reconsider your work situation or relationships. Avoidable stressors are usually things within our control, so think about whether they're priorities in your life and how they're serving you. On the other hand, unavoidable stressors are considered to be chronic. Think parenting, the death of a loved one, a severe illness, or a national recession. Most of these things go beyond your control, and you can't prevent or change these stressors. So in these cases, you need to learn how to manage your stress. And it all starts with changing your relationship to this physiological response, because stress is simply a reaction to a situation whose demands exceed our resources to cope. And in a vastly unequal, hustle-glorifying, and emotionally immature society, that happens to us a lot. There are many ways to manage your stress, and some will work better than others according to the particular stressor and the consequent stress response. Things that can help you manage a fight response often involve doing less and being more. Look for comforting activities that calm you down. Examples of this include taking several slow, deep breaths, getting plenty of rest, and learning to better manage your time and emotions. On the other hand, when your flight response is activated, instead of shutting down or retreating, consider doing things that energize you. These are often related to movement, such as jogging, exploring your creativity, or improving your communication skills. These activities will help you reach a stable emotional baseline and give your body the nourishment it needs. Finally, if some of your chronic stressors trigger a freeze response from your nervous system, then consider a combination of the previous techniques. A freeze response often involves an overactive mind, so it's important to develop a connection with your body using relaxation techniques while focusing on improving your metacognition. Metacognition, or reflecting on the content of your thoughts, is a fundamental feature of self-awareness, because you cannot change what you're not aware of. For example, if you worry excessively about your job, take a few moments to pause and assess what's really causing your anxiety. Is it fear of making mistakes? Or are you afraid of not being able to perform up to standards? Once you have identified the source of your stress, you can then use metacognition to create a plan to reduce it. So let's say you're feeling overwhelmed by work. You can choose to prioritize your tasks and set more realistic goals. You can also practice relaxation techniques such as deep breathing or mindfulness meditation. to reduce your stress levels. Take time to do things you enjoy, such as reading, playing a musical instrument, or taking a walk outdoors. Remember that while stress can be a physiological response to our environment, all non-life-threatening stress or psychological response has nothing to do with external circumstances and everything to do with your perception of what is happening. Mental habits such as anxiety, worry, rumination, catastrophizing, and all other cognitive distortions are simply mental errors that challenge our body's homeostasis. When you learn to recognize those patterns in the way you think, you can break away from them and make better decisions that support your quality of life. While stress is unavoidable, cumulative stress is preventable. So the next time you're feeling particularly stressed, take a long and slow deep breath and follow these steps to get back to yourself. And in the meantime, enjoy your week.